Hi, this is Talk with Ann. I promised myself I wasn't gonna do any more vlogging until I had something that was worth saying. So this is me giving you the best that I got, at least tonight. It's the holiday weekend, everybody's barbecuing, having a really good time and just out. And so this is also mid-year. This is when your New Year's resolutions have fallen. You stop going to the gym. You stop phoning that friend that you really like to connect with. You've broken up with the boyfriend that didn't work from the holidays. This is all those things. And so I like to talk, and I usually connect mostly with women, out in the feeling, out in the go. But I've struggled with vlogging just only because this is not the connection I'm used to. But I'm going to learn to do some different things because consistency, which is also going to be a part of this video, is where we need to get started. So we're going to get started, pen and paper. We're going to talk about some things. Now, just so you know, I'm in my 40s, mid 40s. So this is going to be probably more suitable for women in their 40s and up. Just only because life looks different from that lens versus your 30s and your 22s and your 25s who are just getting started in their career. So we want to start there. Let's start with pen and paper and we're going to get going. So first part is, once we get to this stage, I had to pause because I like to make sure it all makes sense. At 40 and 45, I will say this. What you loved back in the day, you definitely don't love now. What makes sense to you at 20 and 35 doesn't make sense now. And your priority and happiness of what it was some years ago definitely ain't your priority and happiness now. So this is where things get tricky. We're probably at the stage where we're preparing for some sort of what your retirement is going to look like. We're probably preparing for mom and dad to make them comfortable in retirement. We're probably preparing to make ourselves comfortable for retirement. And for a lot of us, we're getting kids off to college or preparing to get kids off to college, or maybe you don't have any kids and you never married and you're trying to figure out why. Like all of those things is what we're going to talk about today. Well, as much as we can talk about it, I can fit in this. And this, I'll try to keep it just like 25, 30 minutes, hopefully not that long. I can break it up into a couple of parts and do a part 1 and a part 2 so it isn't so long. But, so let's start here. Usually at this stage, you're exhausted of one thing and ready to start this other thing. And you're in a gerbil wheel that kind of looks like this, and you're exhausted. That's one thing. You're in a relationship that probably should have been over, or you're trying to figure out if it's worth letting the relationship continue. Or maybe you're in a really great relationship and you're loving that partner and you're thinking, this is the best I done had in a long time and I just want to know what's going to be next for me career-wise or whatever the case is. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I did one thing for a very long time. I chose to go into what it's actually quite popular now, fashion design. I went to fashion design a long time ago, back before the digital age, back before online, back before social media, and back before brown girls was doing it. We were far and few between. It was a lot more expensive then. Well, it's probably pretty expensive now too, still. But it was limited. And so I struggled financially to pay for it. I got as far as I could in it. And so I went as far as I could financially. I took what from it I could. The school is no longer in existence. It's a really great school at the time. And so I went into cosmetics, makeup artist, esthetician, which is a very, very, really valuable career now. And it was then too. There's money to be made. There's definitely a hustle involved. And depending on which direction you go with it determines what your outcome is. And I think that's with any field, especially when you're freelancing. So I did that for a really, really long time, at least 10 or 12 years, in every way possible. Makeup counters, freelancing, events, I did all of it. Um, I was always behind the scenes, never front of the show, which was okay because I was always really comfortable with that. And also, that's kind of where I was emotionally. Where you were in your life at that time, when you look at a period of how far you got and what you did, it's kind of like where you were. And so it's kind of like when you look at what it was, that kind of tells you where you were emotionally. I was more comfortable being behind the scenes. Fast forward, that is no longer the career it used to be, without digital, without marketing, without online. And so what I found was a lot of ladies that I worked with retired out. The younger ones were up for the challenge and they took their spots. And those of us who were kind of in the middle didn't quite know where to go with that. And I thought, well, I don't mind learning something new in the digital age. What I didn't know was if I was still going to love it like I did before. And so I bowed out gracefully. Um, I did direct sales for a really long time. I was a Mary Kay beauty consultant. I never reached like maximum big level because I know you're like, oh my God, did you ever? No. I didn't. Um, Two things happened. Now looking at it, where I was in that season, because I was married then, I'm not married anymore, how I felt about myself in that season, um, my reasons for getting into it is very different now. And what maximum peak looked like for me. And so those things are very important. And I think that's anybody in this stage, in any job or any field they're in, why you took the job, the amount of years you were in it, what was your emotional level at the time, you took it and you were in the job, and where are you now? And that's where the maturity comes in as we mature. Some people are not comfortable being managers. Some of us have gotten trapped in middle management. Oops. Some of us will say, well, this is as far as this job went, and I didn't further my education. So it is all of those things. And so I had to decide where I was going to be today. And the little girl inside of me is screaming at the top of her lungs, like, what are we going to do now? How did we get here? Are we happy here? And, as we all go through healing journeys, like, what is this going to look like now? Okay, so that's part one of it. The other part of it is, what are we going to do if we don't want to do this anymore? And I think that's where a lot of us have gotten stuck. If we want to do insurance, if we're not going to be nurses, if we're sick of real estate, like any of those jobs, we've probably done a really, 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 really long time. If we don't do that job, what are we going to do now? So, what I did at the beginning of this year was did something that was, I won't say far away, but far away enough from what I typically would do. Far away from clothes, far away from fashion, far away from makeup, not creating a brand, any of that kind of stuff. I decided to jump into home staging as a kind of, I don't want to call it a hobby because it definitely isn't a hobby, as extra stream of income and away from what I currently do to breathe. And I have to say, it was really, really an excellent idea. Um, it has worked really well for me. I was able to breathe, and it did let me exercise a lot of creativity and colors and things of that nature that I haven't been able to do in a really long time the way that I want. I'm in finance currently. I'm in retail banking, so I traded one product for the other, in a supervisory role, but not in a branch, just in a financial center. And I have to say, I take my hats off to people who have chosen to be in that part of customer service 15, 20, 30 years, or one company 15, 20, 30 years. Because for one, that is not my personality. And for two, I don't get to interact with the client or the customer the way I would like to in that manner. But also, it takes tenacity to view somebody's dream that you have absolutely no control over, and to do it for 25, 30, 15, 10 years. Like I said, that isn't my personality. However, before we all say, um, I've never done that, you probably have, because you've been married 15, 20, 35 years, or you've had a friendship 15, 30, 25 years that you've wrote in ride or die. And in marriage, I was only married maybe 7 years. We were together 17. And it was a very difficult relationship from the beginning, which I don't even know how I lasted 17 years. But what I understood was I was never sold on that dream. It was never a dream that I saw myself in long term. And I kept trying to figure out, where the hell do I get off here? Where's the stop sign? Like, do we ever get to switch driving? Like, God damn it. So before you say that, I know that wasn't me in those seasons, because I only stayed married 7 years because I no longer was sold into that dream. But also, it was a dream that wasn't going anywhere. It was a relationship that went absolutely nowhere. God bless his soul, because he's now with someone else, and I hope that he's happy wherever he is, um, or with whomever he decided to reside with. But I just knew that I wasn't sold upon that dream. It's the same thing with the company. Being with the company 10, 20, 30 years, I can tell you, even at 40 something, I'm not going to do that. Um, I want to take what I can learn from a company, build upon that in my career, and move to either the next level, next step. Now, let me just say, could I be with a company 10 years? Absolutely. I can't be with a company for 10 years in the same spot or the same department. I don't, God bless the women before us who did it because they had to, not because they wanted to, but who did it because they had to, because of where women have come from. God bless those women who paved the way so that we can be in the corporate room, the bedroom, the kitchen, the whatever, all at one time. I don't ever want to, because those are the shoulders in which we stand on, that I have a voice where I can stand here and say, I don't want to work the same position 3 years. Back when you didn't have a choice but to be a secretary for 20 years, or back when your grandmother was cashier for 15 years or 30 years at Burger King, and that was considered a really big deal with the plaque on the wall, because I've seen it. Or back when you worked at the school cafeteria as the cafeteria leader for whatever years until you retired. Like, God bless that. But, you get to a point now, where we are now, where you say, you know what, I don't really think I want to do this anymore. And so I would like for you to put in the chat and tell me what you've done as a pivot. What have we done to pivot? Because I've been talking about pivot for 10 years. I'll be goddamn, this has been the longest pivot I've ever done. I pivoted to finance to see if I liked it. I liked finance. The current role is to be determined. It was what I said a year ago. This is what I just said now. Just only because I don't have the interaction I would like. And so it's definitely to be determined. And what makes sense. and not seeing the person in front of you, and not allowing people to see that you really care about what things are. Um, I'm currently, even though I have started doing home staging, um, I know that as a woman in today's society, especially as a mom, I have 4 kids that are older, getting older, but still have 4 kids. Finances are the topic of the household constantly, and I think it's the topic of a lot of households. And so I'm sort of extra fidgety. I'm sitting in a spot that isn't the best spot, and so next time I won't sit here. But the topic of finances, pivoting in and out of careers, and pivoting in and out of relationships. And I hope this is making sense. I'm trying to say a lot of things in a very small amount of time, but and I will make a part 2 to this video because I think there's more to be said. I'm telling my story because I want my story to be an example of where we go when we stop doing things, when we've decided the brakes have been hit. Now we're not going to hit it. Creating consistency, being consistent in saying things. And for those of us who are pivoting out of very old careers or careers we're just not doing anymore, what are we doing now? That's it. That was where I was going with that. What are we doing now? Like, how are we changing the dynamic of pivoting of those places? I wish I could give it from a 20-year-old perspective, but I can't. I wish I could give it from a 30-year-old perspective, but I can't. I can only give it from 40-something. And it's very different. Nothing is geared to you. Your resume looks very long. People can tell how old you are by what's on your resume. Cleaning things up, being honest and upfront, wanting to look experienced without looking old. And it's the same thing in dating. It's the exact same thing. Wanting to look experienced without looking old, want to look great, don't want to look too young. It's the same. What are we doing to pivot out of certain things and into new things? I'm currently getting my FINRA SIE license, which is the laws of security, and into getting, I think, my series 6 or 7. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to do, oh my God, there's so many of them. I think it's 66, 65, 67. Just the entry levels for me to start out to see what I would like to do and how much of that I want to do so that I can start working for an investment company and seeing if that's something I can do, and if somebody at 45 can do that without somebody saying you're too old, or you're not going to catch on fast enough, or do you have the time, and just all of those things that comes packaged with pivoting. When you're coming out of an old career, I don't want to be a nurse anymore. I always wanted to be a school teacher. I'm sick of being a school teacher. Now I want to do gardening for a living, like all those things, like the workshops and the classes, and have you invested in yourself to do those things? And the same thing in dating, like investing in a wardrobe, going to all those places you really don't want to go to meet those people that you want to meet, reaching out to your girlfriends going, hey, look, I'm single and I'm ready to date, and I want to know if you know any available men in your circle that are safe to date. Like all of those uncomfortable things. So consistency is the game. And I bring up consistency, which is how it relevance to this is I'm going to try one new goal a month to make some changes that I need to make. This is going to be a very interesting journey. God, give me some grace. Hope you give me some grace too. I would love to hear in the DMs of what exactly you're going to do to pivot, whether it's relationship, whether it's job, whether it's moving out of the big house you don't want to live anymore. Now you want to move to a condo, moving out of the condo into the big house. whatever the pivot is, I want to know what your day one is going to be. And it needs to be 30 days. And I'm going to just vlog this journey. I'm going to see um, once a week, I need to commit. My commitment day was always going to be Wednesday. And I think I need to stick with that to see what Wednesdays look like. And it's going to be 5 a.m. I've done it before. I can do it again. The consistency is the hard part. Maintaining it for a very length of time. I think 3 months was like my personal best. Getting up at 5:30 in the morning for whatever, the gym, to work out, to journal, to Bible study, whatever happens at 5 a.m. If it's for you gonna be a job, getting out of the old job into the new job, I would say I would love to see you work on the resume for 30 days, updating your skills, updating your jobs, updating that old email address, updating that old font, all of those things that go with it, and finding out which classes you need to pivot out of that job that you don't want to do anymore.